Secretary General of Amnesty International. What assessment are you making from outside of the state of law and human rights here?
Well, first of all, I think Amnesty International has not been allowed to come to this country for a long time. So the fact that I'm here is already a very positive sign that the government is rethinking its approach. Many of the political prisoners that Amnesty International has campaigned for decades are now free. Of course, Dosu is one of the most well-known of them, but there are many, many others who have been released, so we have to first appreciate that. But one of the things I think people don't know, particularly outside Myanmar, is that this country is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of natural resources and cultural diversity. 40% of the population are ethnic minorities, 10% or so religious minorities. And here there's very big challenges. We have a lot of conflict, a lot of human rights violations against ethnic minorities and religious minorities, which Amnesty has documented over decades. So I would really like to know as to, if we're talking about rule of law, we're talking about accountability for ongoing violations and past violations, how do we make sure that there is an end to impunity in this country? How do we actually make sure that the rule of law we're talking about is seen in practice? If the Rohingya Muslims being attacked was the most visible recent issue, but this is not restricted only to that group. Many ethnic minorities are facing challenges as we speak.
Let me add that we've had a lot of tweets and Facebook on this. Here's one from Billy Mayaya, a human rights activist from Malawi, who says right now the government of Myanmar is releasing syrupy rhetoric, but is it ready to account for the atrocities of the past? Jinma, do you want revenge? Do you want accountability for those who've done whatever they've done here in recent years?
As a political prisoner, I personally, I do not have any sense of revenge. But the thing is, justice is really important. What we would like to show for the next generation, what was really happening in the past is our history. So that is, what I would like to highlight and promote for our next generation.
Where could this therefore go? After all, in South Africa, they've had a truth and verification. I'll say that again. Where could this now go? In South Africa, they've had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Is that something, Aung San Suu Kyi, you believe should be happening here?
I don't think of it in terms of a commission, but I think that there are very strong links between truth and reconciliation. I do not think that accountability is the reverse side of revenge. No, it does not mean that because you want people to be accountable, you want to take revenge on them. But I think there has to be an acknowledgement of our past. Unless we are able to face our past freely, we will not be able to proceed freely towards the future. But I, for one, am entirely against the whole concept of revenge. But accountability is related to courage. And I like courage. I admire courage in individuals as well as in organizations and in nations. And I would like us to have the courage to be able to face our past squarely, that the same mistakes may not be repeated in the future, but making it quite clear that I personally am not for trying anybody or punishing them or seeking revenge or taking the kind of action that will destroy people for what they had done in the past. Because I believe in accountability, but also I believe in people's right to redeem themselves.
Hussein, it's important to underline you were nodding agreement there about looking and examining the past.
So you have to think about the right blend for the understanding of the past and appreciation of the evolving or present dynamic. That should be sometimes you have to think about that. What you have said is absolutely correct, but we need time. We are in the dark age or the other system about 60 years, not 60 months, not 6 years. 60 years is 60. It's, too long. Now 2 years. We have idea to arrange for everything we have to change, but we need time because we need time for tighten the rope, about 60 years. So you have to untie the rope. It is sometimes very difficult for me, but we must do. We must think about the democracy. We must think about the economic development for the 60 million people. There are some main things.
We will come on to that later in this debate. But let me pick up what Amnesty International was talking about, particularly about the minorities, because Burma's new name is the Union of Myanmar, and a major ongoing threat to the stability and future economic prospects of this nation comes from various armed rebel groups and ethnic minorities challenging that union. A key challenge is from 800,000 Rohingya Muslims who are stateless. The UN labels them one of the most persecuted minorities in the world. Well, Abul Tahey is chair of the Union National Development Party, a largely ethnic Rohingya party. We asked that he come to this debate, but he couldn't get access. So I went to his office in Yangon, where he recorded this question for this debate.
So we're delighted that we've been able to come here.
Rohingya as well as Muslim communities have been denied full-fledged citizenship since 1982 citizenship law comes into operations, which contravenes Universal Declarations of Human Rights, Article 7 of UN Conventions on Rights of Child, and also all international norms, but also contradicts 2008 constitutions. Also, one citizen throughout the country, which was paid by our national hero, General Aung San. So my question is, shouldn't it change by leaders with retrospective effect? And isn't it an obligation of leaders to protect minorities from the influence of majorities, to promote rights and integrations? Thank you.
Minister, the obligation of governments to protect minorities, like the Rohingya.
So we have to protect the human, what you call the people's security. Nowadays, before that we are thinking about national security, including that we give more focus and more share to the trend is changed to people's security. That is, what I mean is the community security, human rights security, then political security, personal security, health security, environmental security, economic security, food security, such like that. In future, we have to protect those who stay in our territory. That's our duty.
But human rights monitors are claiming that the army is condoning and even participating against the nation's Muslim minority.
No, that is a very complicated thing. We have to discuss it all, just like the commission and something like that.
Well, let's get a reflection on this. If we can go to Chant Mint U, who's a historian, about how important this ethnic minority issue is for the future of Myanmar.
It's critical. I mean, in one way, this has been an issue that's been with the country since independence or even before independence. Myanmar was a multi-ethnic, multicultural country before British times. In British times, the colonial power ruled different parts of the country differently. There were lots of immigrants who had come from India over the 50, 100 years of colonial rule. And so this question of what is it to be Burmese or to be Myanmar has been a central question throughout our politics since 1948. The Civil War, the armed conflicts began in 1948-49, partly on issues of identity, partly on issues of nationalism. We are now at the end of, we hope, of 70 years of armed conflict in this country, and I think everyone accepts that there is no way forward, there's no way towards democracy, there's no way towards economic development until the armed conflicts are resolved, but around that is a much broader issue of what does it mean to be Myanmar? How can we forge a more inclusive national identity? It's not just about the Myanmar Burmese majority and different ethnic minorities. We have millions of Myanmar people in Thailand. Are the children born there Myanmar or not? We have immigrants, Chinese immigrants, for instance, from China who've come in over the last 10 years. Are there children who were born here in Myanmar or not? I mean, there's a much broader issue of inclusiveness and identity that's central, I think, to the politics of this country.
Thank you. Could I just pause for a service message? Can I just tell my colleagues in the gallery that I'm